This conference will now be recorded.
Hi,
Gina.
how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Having conversations by myself down here.
Story of my life.
Where am I going?
I don't
Hold
know.
this in today. If you want me on the other end, Laura.
No problem. You notice this thing decides to shut itself off, would you just push the record button again? And if you don't know-
Shut yourself off.
Yeah, this will go black.
Okay.
Just in case, that's the one I use.
Okay.
So I really paid attention to these, if anybody went over. These are a good way to keep track of every month, like what's in our checking savings, what's in each fund.
Favor said that they transfer, like, concerned
It'll show
about.
up on here.
Yeah, I didn't know where that like when it said they transferred to savings.
Yep.
I didn't know where that came from, and Nicole actually explained it today. So it was helpful.
That was on this.
You guys are on camera
Oh, okay.
and like, okay,
That's right.
I just want to let you know.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, everything, this is,
And this is the general, and there's each department.
Yep.
Yep, that's great.
I know, new system.
Is she smoking?
Briefly.
So this is the pre.
Yeah.
But because we're doing 2 years. we're just like-
Yep.
Okay, so this is for 4. So we have to sign 3.
Please, everybody, sign in. If you have it.
Last night. The rain, rain.
Yes.
Was the ground frozen? Has nowhere to go either. Yeah.
If there's a price for the amount, it says maximum amount exemption.
I'll have to ask, I think it went up to 40,000,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure on that. It was whatever it was allowed. Most of the towns are around for the max, but ask me what that is. I think it's 40.
Okay.
Afternoon. No.
It's in this round that they have.
I just want to.
Oh, is that? Yeah. Municipalities can't just.
Oh my God. I think you need somebody to get a blower. This is the vouchers that sign every month, and there's individual vouchers there. You can just look down through, and this is what every single check that the town wrote per month. And every
He
single
said
department.
that they have to, he's gonna have them in for the beginning of the year, or each month, after we do that. These,
Yeah,
Yeah.
before every board meeting, we were given a list of the vouchers that are, and at the end of the previous calendar that have to be submitted.
Right.
And then we review.
So typically, it's best to come in a day or two before the board meeting and look them over, just so, because we're approving these to get paid tonight.
yeah, that's the transfer.
No, this is like just the regular bills to be paid.
Oh, not a transfer. Or expense.
No, this is just the right, yes, this is the expenses.
Right.
This is our just normal bills, 24, 23, and this is all the stuff that came in, and it gives you an itemized list, or you can go through every single voucher.
Oh, that's the microphone?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Over here.
Is that clock the official time?
I'm looking at that. Oh, good job. Okay. Went to a couple of games. No.
Are you bringing up the association, town meeting, or am I bringing it up, or who's bringing that up?
Which one?
One in New York.
No, you might as well, because I've got my brain is full of all the stuff that I just wrote down.
Are you planning on attending, or you don't?
Not going, I'm going to that, new I think that will fill my brain
Yeah.
full of information. Are you going to New York?
I didn't go last year, so I'll probably go this year. I think you were going, right?
I'm going.
Or they were going.
Yeah, but you know, I don't have to.
Two of our board members and a new person from,
I don't want to hang out with people from Keene, gosh. We're on record. This is a microphone.
No, I should turn it on until. No.
I feel like I should.
Then we'll lock in that. Hey. Here she is.
What's that?
Is your fourth today then?
A lot of times it is before dark.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone to the 2024 organizational meeting. I appreciate everyone, being able to attend in view of the, the last minute cancellation yesterday afternoon with the wind and the big snow, but I appreciate it. The first thing we're going to do tonight is the public hearing on the veterans exemption. Last month, the board called for a public hearing, proposed local law number 1, the alternative veterans exemption. It would be a resolution that recognizes the service of military members of the community. And a real property tax law allows communities to adopt alternative veterans exemptions under the right circumstances. It requires us to have a public hearing, and that's what we're having tonight. So is there anyone who wants to speak on this topic or be heard? Ask any questions of the board about this.
From what I read, you guys are including 458A.
We're following 458A of the real property tax law, yes.
That's why you knew there was a Part B.
Right now, this particular law, I don't know whether there's a Part B to answer the question directly, but this particular thing that was proposed is about Part A. So if we have to entertain Part B, we'd have to do probably another review and local law process.
I wanted to make you aware that there was a Part B, because Part A does not include as many veterans as you think it might. Part B would be more inclusive.
Why?
Because Part B is the Cold War
Okay,
veterans,
okay,
which is just about everybody,
Right.
until 91.
so Part A limits it to Korean.
Part A is Vietnam, Korea, Persian Gulf times.
Okay.
And a few expeditionary medals.
So does Part B include all of this category of Part A and then includes also Cold War
Part A is
only?
for.
So in other words, for the municipality to do an alternative exemption, we'd have to do Parts A and B.
You can do A separately, which you should do.
Okay,
Continue with that.
okay,
If
and then
that's what-
consider Part B.
If you want to consider including more veterans in the group, then you'd have to go back and consider Part B.
Okay,
There are a lot of veterans that might show up to apply for Part A, not realizing they're not eligible.
okay, thank you. Yes, hold on.
Wasn't there a Cold War exemption made previously? Don't we already have a resolution?
We do.
for-
I don't know
Cold
it
War
by heart, but I know it.
I'm pretty sure that there is a Cold War part that we are already,
There is a Cold War, that was I proposed a few years ago, they did a hearing and it did pass, but it was very, very minimal, much more minimal than Lake Placid is doing on behalf of the same law. Part B does not include World Trade Center people either, so I didn't know if he said that Part B wasn't included. So yeah, so it just needs to be defined, but the Cold War that we have is extremely minimal. There's municipalities across New York State and the country that have 10 times the deduction that we have. Because you can choose under the way we did it already here. You can choose anywhere from, I think it's like 1,000 to 150,000. And you have that ability to decide as a town. So what you're proposing tonight, it's across the board, it limits New York State that's doing Lake Placid, and that's the 10 and the 15%.
Okay.
For combat versus Cold War.
Okay. May I ask you, so you say that our particular adoption of the Part B wasn't as generous as it might have been? Is that,
It just doesn't include a group of veterans.
okay. Is there a way a municipality can alter that, or is that
I have
something?
no idea.
Okay,
And Lake Placid did it already. So I could ask Lake Placid, we're just mimicking what they do.
very good. Thank you.
So we'd have to talk to the assessors to figure out some of this information because they're the ones that have.
Mhm.
I'm not really up on all that. And I don't think any of us are.
No, I'm not. But I mean, it's worth following up on. And
Start with the county, stuff they're gonna have to be by the county limit.
well, they generally have lots to say
Yeah.
on
I mean, if they bring it from the
those things before it gets to the local assessors.
Yeah.
Yes, Jerry.
Could you speak a little louder?
I'll try.
I can't hear you very well back here.
I'll try. Thank you. Anyone else? How are we doing for the, anything further on the public hearing? I'll keep it open for just a couple more minutes. And then we can close it and go on to the next meeting.
Nicole, 458A, how much will that decrease the town's property tax revenue? Do we have just a ballpark estimate?
I don't
That would be
think it's very much.
yes. That's what we heard the last time we talked about this, and I was just wondering if we had anything more specific, but okay.
Well, I mean, that would depend on who applies for the exemption. I mean, there's no way to tell. I mean, we know how many veterans, but some of them may not do it, some of them may do it, so I don't know if that's a figure that we could tell unless we did, this would be the maximum. If everybody applied for it, that would be the only way.
That would be ideal to know. Like, not very much, that means like, not very much might mean something different to everyone here. I'm going to vote for this. I mean, I know that we don't know exactly, but I was just looking for a closer estimate, if possible.
Okay, hearing nothing further, I'm going to close the public hearing for the local law number 1, the alternatives veterans exemption. You have a motion to close?
I'll make it.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Closed. Okay, thank you. The next is this is the organizational meeting, and we have handed out, and you can find in the back copies of sort of my draft, the first of the organizational meeting. The first part will be, it's going to be a series of resolutions, first of which are going to be procedural. It's about the way in which the meetings are being run and scheduled and things like that. These were just pretty much adopted by from the county. The county seems to run pretty good meetings from what I've observed. And I thought these rules are probably pretty clear and they'd be helpful so that people understood where they are in a particular moment of a meeting in the middle of a motion and things like that. The second part will be a series of resolutions involving the appointment of town employees, their salaries and things like that, for which roll call votes will be made on some of them, but not all of them. I will be reading each of these resolutions, the end of which, if a roll call vote is going to be called, I will ask for a roll call vote after the motion and the second and the discussion. And then we'll have a roll call vote. And then we'll move on to the next one. And I have like 18 resolutions. So we'll try to move along as best we can here. So, except for I will not read the first resolution at length because it's 4 pages or so. So the first resolution of 2024 are the rules of procedure adopted for the town board and its regular meetings, work sessions, and special meetings. And the rules of procedure for both regular and special meetings, and how the votes will be determined, and the rules of order. We'll be adopting Robert's Rules of Order. So, do I have a motion to accept those, the first resolution? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
And then we discuss.
Just watch. This will be fine. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have a motion from Darren and a second by Tim. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Please.
As far as first of all, H is different from the order that we've been conducting meetings in the past several years.
Yes.
Is that how we will conduct tonight's meeting if this is adopted, using this order?
Well, tonight's meeting, we're following the agenda that I set out first, but that's the way in which I'd like to see the business transaction going forward.
I'd like it if the meetings such as today, rather than being at 4, the makeup meetings were at 7, because I think it's easier for members of the public to attend 7 o'clock meetings.
Any other discussion on that? Would you comment on that? Would you like to comment on that?
For the alternate being at 7 instead of 4, That's what I had said for today, so I also agree with that, but, I think it is easier because most work days end at 5, so that would be my.
Okay, does anybody else have a comment on that?
I'm fine either way.
Okay, so what we can do is we can make a limited motion to alter paragraph A, last part from 4 PM to 7 PM. I have a motion on that.
I'll make it.
Second. Any discussion on that any further? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So as such as that change being made to paragraph A, is there any other comments or discussion on the remainder of the rules?
Page 3, letter C.
So here's, if I can just discuss this, what he's talking about is there used to be a lot more formal requirements before email about way in which members of a body would get notice of a change in the meeting. So it's kind of like the way in which the town code used to have to serve everybody with, certified mail return receipt requested. What's that? Which one are you talking about, B or D?
C.
C. What page?
Page 3.
I'm on page 2, sorry. So what would you like to, which part? C? I'm sorry.
Okay. That was also good to talk about and clarify.
Right,
Page 2,
right.
letter C.
Thank you. So read it aloud to me and then tell me what you think.
I would just like additional clarification.
On,
Page 2, letter C. But I would really want to talk about page 3, letter C.
okay.
Did you say 3 or?
No, I was right the first time.
No, I said page 3, letter C the first time.
Okay.
But since you brought up, so we can move on to page 3, letter C. I think that's okay.
Okay,
Page 2, letter C is unclear to me, but I don't,
all that means is, it's like a proxy and a vote for a corporation and shareholders. That shareholders can sign a waiver of being served with certain formalities for the attendance at meetings so that they don't have to follow the special notice requirements. This is just a hangover from the county where certain meetings, you could serve a waiver at the beginning of the year saying, I'll take it all by text or I'll take it all by email. That we don't have to go through necessarily the formal process of the way in which we get notice that there's a special meeting to each member. So that's how that works.
how does the county do it? How do people who don't sign the waivers?
I'm finding out. So I have to, I'm sure that, email is probably the best way to go, but they are required by law. And this is probably part of the town law and other laws like that, where they require certain more formal procedures for serving notice on people by giving them writing, sending it to, putting it in their mailbox cubby, sending it to their address or something like that. So in any case, that's not really, it's sort of a holdover from times when it's less easy to communicate with one another. But if we need to serve a very special emergency meeting and a member doesn't think that they were given notice of it ahead of time, and they said, well, email's not good, then the board will be sitting here saying, okay, well, wait a minute, I have to get you an actual piece of paper according to law. At the beginning of the year, members can agree that that email service is effective for these kinds of events, so they don't have that kind of dilemma for a special meeting.
Unless Frontier is down on respect for that.
Well, it never happens.
Oh, no, that never happened.
So that's page 2C, page 3C, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the problem with that is? Or D?
No, C.
Okay. Can you read it aloud?
Any member desiring to speak or to present any subject matter shall raise, politely address the chair first, and shall not proceed any further until recognized by the supervisor and awarded the floor.
Yes, okay, so maybe shall not raise it. So it's missing the word it. Any member of the board who wants to speak. This is an order rule. So you can say, I'd like to speak, please, and then you get to speak when you get recognized by the chair. It isn't a back and forth kind of stuff. These are just parts of the decorum and the rules of meeting. So apart from the fact that I omitted an it, after shall raise it politely to the chair first before being allowed to speak. It's just a rule of order. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Can I have a vote, please? All those in favor? Aye. Carried.
Who made the motion and seconded? I didn't hear.
I made it, Tina.
No, Tim seconded, actually, that one. If I got that right. You're right, Ed?
Tim was on the limited motion
Oh,
about changing
I-
7 PM.
You're right, I'm sorry. Okay, so the next resolution is resolution number 2, for which we're going to make a roll call vote. So it's further resolved that the town board for the town of Wilmington hereby adopts the following. The salaries is resolved that the following salaries be paid to employees on a biweekly basis in 26 payrolls. For the supervisor, Favor Smith, annual $30,224. For the deputy supervisor, to be named later, but I'll name her now, Tina Terry Preston, she receives $1,015 per annum. The town justices, there are 2 town justices. It's Honorable Hope Smith Holzer and the Honorable Michael Godot. They each receive the sum of $10,135 annually. The council members, Tina Terry Preston, Darren Forbes, Tim Follis, Laura Dreisiacker Hooker, they each receive a sum of $5,589 annually. The town clerk tax collector, Don Stevens, receives a sum of $27,715 annually. The deputy town clerk, now this is a little awkward, but she doesn't get anything except when the town clerk is absent due to illness or on vacation, for which the deputy town clerk then receives $16 per hour, not to exceed 15 hours per week. The chairman of the board of the chairman of the assessors is Alfonso Smith. He receives an annual sum of salary of $9,228. There are 2 assessors, Blanche Peck and Devin Korn, recently elected. Each of them receives a salary of $5,589. The water and superintendent, Mr. Ed Orsi, receives $27.06 per hour. The cemetery superintendent, Doug Nemec, receives an annual salary of $3,121, which is to be incorporated as part of his regular pay as a code enforcement officer. The landfill attendant, Mr. Doug Nemec, receives $25.09 per hour for a 20-hour work week. The zoning and codes enforcement officers, Mr. Doug Nemec, he receives $25.09 per hour for a 20-hour work week. The account clerk is Ms. Nicole Forbes. She receives $25.09 per hour. The Parks, Grounds, Building Maintenance, Water Operators, Mr. John Langford, he receives $25.75 per hour. The Dog Control Officer, which happens to be Mr. Langford, receives $4,160 per year. The Parks EMT personnel, we split one particular employee between the Parks Department working there and then working as an EMT. That's Brooke Paris. She receives $22.80 an hour, half of which is paid for by the town and half of which is paid for the volunteer fire and rescue department. The Parks laborers, Mr. Aston Lynch, and he receives a sum of $22.72 an hour. The highway superintendent is Mr. Louis Adragna. He receives $62,312 per year. The deputy highway superintendent, Mr. Kevin Lincoln, he receives $26.37 an hour. The highway personnel, the heavy equipment operators, and Mr. Norman Coolidge at $24 an hour, Mr. Donald Hoover at $25.09 an hour, Mr. Riley Lawrence for $23.50 an hour. And finally, Mr. Seth Stevens at $25.09 per hour. The clerk is Nancy Randall, as we said before, at $16 per hour, not to exceed 15 hours a week. The Board of Assessment Review, each member receives $300 to be paid by voucher following grievance day. So that is the resolution. May I have a motion to accept? Jim make the motion? May I have a second? Darren seconds. Any discussion?
Ashton's title is Deputy Park Superintendent, not laborer.
Was probably my error.
Well, so noted. We'll make a correction in the record. Hearing no further discussion, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Tim Ballas,
Yes.
Gary Forbes.
Aye.
Laura, aye. Tina? Aye. Favor?
Aye. That's resolution number 2. Resolution number 3, this is for vouchers and reimbursement for the use of personal vehicles for town business. It's resolved that the town of Wilmington will accept for payment duly itemized vouchers that are certified and or verified for payment. The vouchers must be received by the last day of the month for consideration of the next monthly meeting. The next part is that any officer or town employee be reimbursed for the use of their own car and the performance of official business for the town of Wilmington at the rate of 67 cents per mile for actual mile travel. Is there a motion to accept this resolution?
We're supposed to do 2 votes there because
It's 3 separate things.
Well, let's do the first one. We'll do the itemized vouchers. May I have a resolution for that?
Did you do the Board of Assessment Review?
I included them with the resolution number 2. I did, but I read it earlier.
I'll make it.
So this is for the
the
vouchers.
vouchers.
Okay. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, resolution number 4 then is the reimbursement for the use of car. And I already read it. They're going to get 67 cents to be reimbursed per mile for actual miles traveled on town business. Is there a motion for that, please?
Motion.
Motion and a second, Tim and Laura. Any discussion? All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Discussion.
Actual miles, is that like at the hospital? It's from the hospital to wherever the place is. How does that work for this?
Yes.
Okay,
Generally, it's easy as heck with Google Maps. So
not from my house to wherever.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's your place of business, and you can just mark down, address A and address B, and you'll have the miles. And I think that's helpful for your reimbursement claims anyway.
So it's not from the community center, it's from your house, if you're going somewhere.
No,
It's from the community center.
yeah, it's from, more of the, once you use the community center. I think the highway garage probably would be appropriate too. Okay, so that was the discussion. Good, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, the next resolution is about the official newspapers. This is resolution number 5. It is resolved that the Adirondack Daily Enterprise and Lake Placid News be designated the official newspapers. I have a motion. I'll make it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Resolution number 6. It's resolved that the following deputies be approved and appointed. The deputy supervisor, Tina Terry Preston. I have a motion to accept that. Second? Let's hear it from people.
You need to speak it.
I'll make it.
Yeah, we need it. All right, let's hear it. You can
Second.
make it in second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. You need
Here.
to abstain.
Tina Singh. The Deputy Highway Superintendent is Mr. Kevin Lincoln. May I have a motion, please?
Make it.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the Deputy Town Clerk is Nancy Randall. May I have a motion, please?
Motion. Make it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, the next resolution is for the appointed positions. There's a big typo in that one. Is a result that the following appointments be made for the respective positions designated to be paid in the manner provided. The town engineer, as needed, to be paid on itemized vouchers for services rendered. The registrar of vital statistics is Dawn Stevens, to be paid according to the fees set by the state of New York. The deputy registrar of vital statistics is Nancy Randall, to be paid according to the fees set by the state of New York. The town health officer is Dr. Robert DeMuro, who receives no salary. The town historian is Mary Peck, who receives no salary. The budget officer is Ms. Nicole Forbes, who receives an annual payment of $1,300 to be paid at the first payroll in November. Then there's the safety officer, which is Mr. Louis Adragna, which is an annual payment of $703 paid in the first payroll of December. May I have a motion to accept these positions?
Make it.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Tim?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Tina?
Aye.
David?
Yes, please. So the next resolution is for the attorney for the town. I have to admit that that one is, I'm going to make a motion at this point to postpone that to a date certain, hopefully towards the end of January. There's going to be a meeting January 31st, at which we will decide the question of the town attorney. And I have a motion to accept my motion.
Make it.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next motion, resolution is about temporary employees. It is hereby resolved that during the year, temporary and seasonal employees be employed by the town of Wilmington to adequately carry out the business of the town. And the rate of remuneration to be affixed by the board for each separate employee at the time such employee is employed. May I have a motion to accept that? Good. Tim, second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next motion involves petty cash. It is hereby resolved that a petty cash fund for the town clerk tax collector be established not to exceed $100. May I have a motion, please?
Make it.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion?
Why is it so little when other?
Because we don't need it to be
Okay,
more.
okay.
It's
Great.
plenty. It's just for making
Love it.
change.
Okay, no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the next is a resolution to establish a petty cash fund and $100 to be for the landfill attendee, and further resolve that a $1,200 petty cash fund be established for making change. May I ask a question? May I have a motion for this?
Motion.
Okay, in a second? Second. What, I'm confused about this then, Don. Is it 100 and 200? They're two separate?
Yes, 100 is what he carries in his bag to take out to the dump. The 200 is the one I showed you that's in the locked safe that we use, all of us use for change. And that's why I don't need more than $100, because that's there and we can do it from there. There's no sense tying up money. having monies around.
Okay, as clarified, is there we have a motion to approve?
Tim and Laura already did it.
I
so-
did, I screwed up. Okay, discussion. All in favor?
So when, for discussion, so when you say you have, all of you have, so more than one person has access to the $200 at one time?
Nancy and I.
Okay, so just.
Okay, we are the ones, and I check it every 3 days, just out of precaution. The banks check every time I open the draw. And to clarify on Nancy's, that $16 in the other part isn't as my deputy, that's as clerk to help
Yes,
Nicole and codes officers.
thank you. The next resolution is discretionary purchases by the superintendent of highways. It is hereby resolved that the superintendent of highways is authorized to purchase necessary tools and implements during the year without prior approval of the town board in an amount not to exceed $2,000. This is resolution 50 of 2023. May I have a motion to accept this?
Make it.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I just had a question. Is there a maximum of how many $2,000 withdrawals can be made or purchases can be made?
Well, I'll bring this up. The Wilmington has adopted a procurement policy, which sets forth the way in which further permissions, further procedures need to be followed based on the amount in question. The procurement policy is something that I would propose the board review, very soon to look at to see if it complies. It's kind of old, and that the procurement policy would bind the discretionary purchases of department heads and things like that. So that's something I'm going to recommend that the board look at.
But to answer your question, no, but we've never had a problem with that.
Shouldn't it be 2024?
No,
Okay.
that resolution was passed. That's the number of the resolution, and that's the year it was passed.
So
It went
that
from 1,000 to 2,000, right? Right.
was last year, I guess.
So last year.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next resolution is the adoption and continuation of policies. It is hereby resolved that the existing employee regulations regarding benefits eligibility, leaves of absence, sick leave, holidays, overtime, vacation, hospitalization, and personal leave be continued. May I have a motion, make a motion to accept that. A second, please. Any discussion?
I saw the, I think it's the benefits. I think the age needs to be changed because you can be, I think since that was printed, you can have your child under your plan for.
So you're 26.
Right, but I think it was only if they are in school. I think there was something that just needed to be looked at.
There's a lot of things that need to be looked at, and you guys
Yeah.
probably do that.
Let me
For now,
let me just make a little comment on the policies. As the procurement policy reflects, the employee handbook also needs to be reviewed carefully and gone over and redone in some ways. These were adopted a number of years ago, and the idea for policies is that they get reviewed often enough and updated because the law changes an awful lot. And our policy may not cover things that it should be covering. It may overcover things that it shouldn't be overcovering anymore. And it definitely needs to be reviewed, updated, and replaced as needed, like the procurement policy. So that's something, again, I'd like to see us work on. Oh, in any case, that was the discussion on the continuation of the employee regulations.
I have a question about health insurance, employee health insurance. Just a general question. I know that some people who have worked for the town in the past receive health insurance as part of their retirement, retired people. How long do you have to work for the town to receive health insurance for the rest of your life?
20 years? I think it's 20 years now. That's just me.
That's what I thought too, but I just wanted to make sure that I was right
And I'm
about
not
that.
sure
20
that it
years
has-
upon retirement age. So if they retire at 45, they can't draw until they draw from the New York State retirement system, which is 55.
All those in favor? Any more discussion?
Town board members were previously eligible for town health insurance, but no longer are. Is that
No,
correct?
do
You still
you
are.
want me to answer?
Please.
Okay, you still are eligible, but you pay a percentage of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next resolution is that the existing procurement, as I mentioned earlier, guideline policy, the affirmative action policy, the sexual harassment policy, and the drug-free workplace policy as adopted by the town board be continued. I have a motion, please.
Make it.
Second?
A second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next motion is that the official depository of town funds, and the resolution is that the resolve that the NBT Bank of Lake Placid is designated as a depository of the town of Wilmington, and any of its officers and agents of the town be and each are authorized from time to deposit funds into the bank account at the principal office or any of its branches, and to endorse those deposits in the name of town of Wilmington, all checks, instruments, and it goes through the rest of it, mechanical rubber stamps. It's further resolved that the MBIA class accounts be used as interest-bearing accounts for monies not immediately needed for operating expenses. I have a motion to accept that.
Okay. Or I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. So the MBIA class accounts is that the town receives a certain amount of money at the beginning of the year when people are nicely paying their property taxes. And the town doesn't need to spend that money in January when it receives it. So there are certain classifications of accounts that municipalities are permitted to deposit those monies so that they can earn interest over time and then be drawn from as bills become due for the municipality, and that's the MBIA class accounts. So, any other discussion?
Are we gonna do a separate motion for you and Tina?
Yes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, carried. The next resolution is that both Supervisor Favor J. Smith and Deputy Supervisor Tina Turney are the authorized signers of all town official texts. I have a motion to accept that, please.
Make it.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Now, the next on the item on the agenda, I'm going to make a motion to postpone until January 31st, 2023. The resolution reads that the board authorize the designation of unexpended funds in the 2023 budget for expenditure for 2024 and establishing reserves in 2003 for the unappropriated fund balance. The reason why I'm making this motion to put it to January 31st is because we are in the process of changing over the types of accounting software with an older version that the town has been using for many, many years with the software that's been adopted by a number of the municipalities. And we also have to close out the year for 2023 because we still have bills that were accrued in 2023 that haven't been paid. So we can't officially close the account yet. So I've decided, we discussed this in the office, and we're just couldn't be ready tonight to make an informed and confident motion on what to do with those funds at the end of the year. So I'm making a motion to postpone that resolution until the January 31st, 2023 meeting.
2024.
24? I'm gonna give up. All right, 2024 meeting. Okay, so that's my motion is, would someone like to second it? Let me just do it that way. I will. Okay, any discussion about that? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And similarly for the next motion, which is the interdepartmental budget transfers, the way it's written right now, it says that the supervisor is authorized to make interdepartmental budget transfers in the 2024 budget. I think that that's just the mechanics of how that process works, so that if funds needed to be moved from one account to another account, that any town supervisor is authorized as basically the chief fiscal officer of the town to make of those things and then report it back. But again, I'm going to make a motion to postpone this to January 31st until I feel more confident about what the heck that actually means. So that's my motion. I'm moving it to the January 31st, 2024 meeting. And so is there a second for that?
I think we should just pass it because that's something that's done year after year after year, and that's exactly what it is. It's throughout the budget. Anytime that you need to take funds from one account and switch them into another account, that gives you permission to be able to make that transfer without going in front of the board. So for example, if we're running short in the Parks Department, but we have extra money in the overtime line on the budget, you can make the transfer from the overtime line into the Parks Fund or vice versa, or however things have to be done. It's always just a standard part of the operating budget. So, I mean, I don't care, we can wait, but it's something that's been in every budget since I've been here for 16 years.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any strong feelings on this? I can remove my motion and we can pass it tonight.
That's how we do it.
You strong in your feelings? Okay. How about if how do I remove my motion?
I'll just scratch it out.
Thank you so much. So that motion has been composted.
Yeah, because
This is a resolution that the supervisor be authorized to make interdepartmental budget transfers in the 2024 budget. May I have a motion to accept that, please?
I like it.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
We do it all.
Fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. The next resolution is a establishment of a per diem for employees and public officials for town business. This is the meals and reimbursements that the IRS sets, so that if a town employee is out on town business and they need to go someplace and they're getting their meals and their maybe accommodations and things like that, this is the mechanism by which the town can reimburse them for those expenses based on what the IRS sets. So that's basically, I have a resolution. I have a motion to accept that.
I'll make it.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, congratulations. Thank you, everyone, that's the first part. We have some more business to do, but those are the basic organizational minutes, and I appreciate your patience while I wandered through that. The next item on the agenda is the proposed local law number 1 of 2024. We went through we had the public hearing, and there's some questions raised about between Part A and Part B. What's that? No, I'll do the contract.
Okay.
They'll be covered.
Okay.
And that one is, so proposed local law number 1, the alternative veterans exemption. Do I need to read it? Does anyone want me to read it? Have we had a chance to read it? I'll read it. Okay. Whereas the town and board of Wilmington, Essex, New York, Essex County seeks to recognize the service of military veterans living in Wilmington, whereas the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 458A, authorizes local towns to adopt the alternative veterans exemption from real property taxation. And whereas under the New York State Property Tax Law, Section 458A, a public hearing must be held prior to the adoption of such an exemption. Whereas the board conducted a public hearing on January 10th, 2024 at 7 Community Circle
at 4 p.m. for such a said resolution. Whereas a number of persons appeared at such a hearing, whereas a number of members of the public spoke and voiced an interest in the passage and questions about this resolution. And now therefore the town board hereby resolves to adopt the alternative veterans exemption from real property taxation under and in accordance with the New York State Real Property Tax Law, section 458A, commencing in the 2024-2025 school year. Such exemption shall be the maximum exemption available under the Real Property Tax Law for such exemptions. This resolution shall be filed with the Essex County Office of Real Property and shall be applicable to all 2024-2025 assessment rolls and all rolls thereafter. This local law, number 1, 2024, shall also be filed with the New York State Secretary of State and shall take immediate effect.
Okay, I had a typo in there. It's not school year, real property tax year, or however.
Well, let the record so reflect. We'll type up a,
We'll fix it.
we'll fix it.
Before I file it, we'll fix it.
Is there a motion to accept this?
Motion to accept with the proposed changes.
Noted. A second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is this a template from the county?
Done?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's the same one that was used for the school, and that's what it was. When I missed it when I was typing it up on that.
So when they were referring to the 458 Part B, that was not part of the original template from the
No, I
county?
haven't, I
Okay.
didn't know anything about that.
Is that something that we as a town can vote on separately, or is that something that would have to be a totally separate resolution, or could we add it?
It would have to be a totally separate
Okay.
resolution now because we haven't put it in the paper, we haven't posted it.
Okay.
But I don't see why we couldn't do it later on if it was wanted. It's the first I heard of Part B.
I think we should look into Part B. Sure, absolutely.
I think also clarifying what our Cold War exemption is and if it really was, if it did end
I
up.
think there's a couple of them, but Fonzie could probably tell you quicker than I could find
Okay.
it.
And when we're looking for the extent to which these exemptions would impact town revenue, is that a question that the assessors would know the answer
Yes.
to? Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? With all those in favor of accepting local law number 1 of 2024, please vote.
Tim?
Aye.
Jerry? Laura?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Baker?
Carried. Yes. Carried. Aye. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is old business. This is the resolution about the pro-housing community designation. And I can't really lay my hands on it.
I can give you mine.
No, before I, yeah, Tim's going to share it with me for a minute. So I'm not sure when this was brought before last year's board. But I don't, this is a resolution to, it's more of a aspirational kind of resolution that would announce that the town of Wilmington will work in a proactive way to support development of properties for affordable housing. And I'd be happy to read some of it or all of it to you. And then the board, we can take it as a motion and have our discussion about it up here. But the town of Wilmington believes that the lack of housing for New York residents is impacting negatively against our growth and our community's well-being, that the housing crisis has negative effect on regional, local levels. We believe every community must do its part to contribute to housing and growth and benefit from the, et cetera. We believe that the supporting housing production of all kinds in our community will bring multiple benefits, including increasing housing access and choices for current and future residents, providing integrated, accessible housing options, and bringing economic opportunities and vitality to our communities.
And we believe the evidence showing that the infill development, which reduces sprawl and supports walkable communities, has significant environmental and public benefits. We believe that affirmatively furthering fair housing and reducing segregation is not only required by law, but is essential for keeping our community strong and vibrant. So we do hereby support and we'll do our best to further the providing of multifamily affordable housing and accessible housing and workforce housing. The resolution is in order to take these positive steps to alleviate the housing shortages and crisis, we adopt a pro-housing communities pledge, which will have us endeavor to take the following important steps. And those steps are streamlining permitting for multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing. Adopting policies that affirmatively further fair housing, incorporating regional housing needs into planning decisions, increasing development capacity for residential uses, and enacting policies that encourage a broad range of housing development, including multifamily housing, affordable housing, etc. So that is the resolution. I have a motion to adopt this resolution. Or anybody?
I'm gonna make it just so we can discuss it.
Well, you don't have to necessarily. We can move to postpone this and have a discussion at a work session.
This was tabled at the December 12th meeting, and it's something that at the supervisors meeting in E-Town, they passed it. It's basically just goes to the powers that be to say we need something done about affordable housing, if that helps you guys to.
I don't know the circumstances or context at all, and I'd be happy to give you my view of what I think of it. But I just want to know what the board would like to do.
I'll make the resolution to approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I want to discuss it.
Oh, happily.
Okay.
So there's a second, and now we'll have the discussion, please.
I think it's also so that we can get grants. It allows us easier access to grants for pro-housing communities. The only thing that I would like to add is that under what we are, I don't have my copy, I'm sorry. I would like to add a 6th step that says that the housing in these areas that are used as pro-housing cannot be used for short-term rentals.
I don't think we can do that because we're accepting the resolution as it.
Well, they haven't given it a number.
Hold on, so that your point is you'd like to add something to say that these cannot be used for short-term rentals? And Darren says that, no, I don't think we're necessarily authorized.
Well, basically, all it's saying is we're in need. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically opening us to grants, so I don't know why we would want to add something to a resolution saying that we're in need, that basically says we're in need, but under these limitations. I
Because
mean,
it's streamlining the permitting process for these housing units, which could also allow for more
but the town
proliferation.
still has say what housing units go in town. I mean, we still have a zoning planning board.
No, I think this is an aspirational kind of language. The town has its own land use code, its own way in which it reviews each and every project. This wouldn't affect that. This is, I mean, from what I've been reading up on it, there is a movement afoot towards this cluster idea of zoning. And then they had all these meetings in the fall down in E-Town and stuff like that, where they start talking about, well, what we need to do is build a bigger building so people can afford it. And then we're going to keep where people live in a smaller area than the sprawling, we're, going out 10 miles. And then they ran into the problem is that the infrastructure costs for those kinds of ideas are huge. You need a wastewater system. If you want to put in a building that offers 50 units, you're going to need a mighty big septic system around here. And so it becomes sort of the rubber hits the road for communities like Wilmington, because what they want to do is not something that we can necessarily help them with because we just don't have the capacity for it. I don't know anything about the grants personally, so but if it could help us access funds without necessarily putting restrictions on it, because we would always have our own restrictions built in as part of the land use code. So, but I don't know whether that's the case, whether we would actually get access to the help, is there money walking around out there to help us with these projects?
As far as streamlining the permitting process, it seems pretty streamlined already. I don't know how much more we would want to streamline it.
But again, we'd have, if you have a large Class A project, you're gonna put in, so, they came up with that story in Lake Placid about behind the Grand Union of, 60 units of affordable housing. Well, that's gonna invite the APA to review it, the DEC, everybody. There's a review process that we don't have any control over based on the size of the project. And so we can't streamline anything. They want to build some community housing that is large enough, they'll have to go visit the state anyway.
But they'll have to visit the town planning board as well.
Yeah,
That's
I-
it. They're gonna have
Well, I
to-
understand, but it's-
So I don't know how much more we want to streamline our
It's
town.
more of a word like please and thank you. Or
Yeah.
you talk your lawyer talk, whereas, and
Yeah, this is,
We're not
it's not
changing
telling
any
us
of our
we
laws.
have to change anything.
no, we're
But
not changing anything anyway. And they're asking us to streamline it. I think Don's right. It's more of a make some effort to help them out. So if an application comes forward, I'm not seeing how it applies here that easily. Yes, I'm sorry, I'll take one.
We passed this to Jay last month. I think the streamlining is between Wilmington and the county, not within the town, the way it was described to us down in Jay.
So
It also allowed us to participate in the private tie stuff too.
So would you repeat that to me
The
again?
county and the town.
Okay.
And the state, not so much within the town. Because it's not gonna change your town zone, it's already there.
The way I read it, it says that we are aspiring to change the town zoning to make it more streamlined. What does
I think it's just wording.
Yeah, it's not a
That's
contract.
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a contract.
it's just wording.
So
There's
anyways,
another section that I wasn't crazy about.
Darren, go please.
I withdraw my resolution so we can move on. We've had enough discussion and we.
Can I have a
Well,
second?
next one.
Remember, this might impact the housing project that you guys are working on right now, because that's part of this.
Okay,
Just saying.
well, I think we can talk about it at the work session, which is January 31st, 2024 at 4:00. We'll put it over. So the resolution has been withdrawn. Who would seconded that resolution? Laura,
Laura,
would you withdraw your second?
withdraw.
Okay,
I just,
you don't have to,
Scratched it
but if you want to.
Postpone. Thank you for the discussion.
Okay, thank you. The next is the new business. Mr. Nicanello is here. And we have a couple of immediate appointments for boards that need to be filled. So the appointments are for Suzanne Gabel for the Board of Assessment Review. Her term is up, and so we'd like to renew her appointment for the Board of Assessment Review. We also have a vacancy on the Board of Assessment Review because Devin Korn has moved on to become an assessor. So I'm gonna, make a little pitch at some point at this meeting for further volunteers. The other Ms. Tony Nicanello and Jim Kelly will be moving from alternates to full members of the planning board because of the vacancies created by Bob Peters retiring, Laura being elevated to the town board, and Cliff Holzer Jr. has decided not to seek another appointment. So may I have a motion to accept those appointments to those boards?
Make it.
Okay.
Any discussion?
I have a question. So there are 3 spots on the board right now, mine.
Yeah.
Well, you're-
Cliff's and,
Well, what happens is the alternates had moved in So we're going to be filling,
One spot.
well, no, we have Jim and Tony moved up. So there were 2 alternates.
That move. Is that automatic?
I'm looking for 3 guys for the planning board. Let me just put it that way.
Right, so we have one more spot.
Yes.
Okay. May I recommend someone, or is that not a thing?
Not right now.
Okay.
Please.
Is the going from an alternate member to a voting member, is that an automatic process or is that something that the board has to approve? I think that's what we're doing right now, right?
That's what I'm doing.
I'd like to see Pat Lynch made a voting member of the planning board.
Is she an alternate of the board?
She is not.
Can we table these discussions until, I mean, I think we need a large pool of volunteers. I'd like to see the name of people who are interested in coming forward to serve on this. I'm interested in the zoning board of appeals because I think a community that doesn't have a zoning board of appeals is inviting the next step to another lawsuit, which we've discovered is expensive. And so I think that we got to be part of a larger plan and not part of a resolution at the organizational meeting.
We've appointed people without even it being on the agenda at previous meetings.
Didn't we just go through 5 pages of what the agenda and the way meetings are going to be run? Okay, I don't hold with that unless it's an emergency. I don't think, new resolutions should be thrown at the board unless it's in advance and all the board members seem to agree that this resolution needs to be heard. So I'm not going to allow it. Well, speaking of zoning, the next business, did we have a vote on it?
No.
I'm sorry.
Need to know whether you're going.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to see Pat made a voting member.
So you're voting no right now.
Should we do these
There's gonna
We have a motion on the
individually?
floor.
We have a motion and a second to move Suzanne Gabel to the board of, to reappoint her to the Board of Assessment Review and to make Joni Nicanella and Jim Kelly full members of the planning board so that we have a full planning board to hear business.
We still have a spot open as a voting member, is that true?
Yes, but you
Okay.
have a quorum, I think.
No,
By appointing these ones, we will.
Yeah, so they had enough votes
we'll
the last
have,
time.
we
I was
won't have
over.
a voting spot, will we? Because we got,
You had 3 alternates.
Yes, but just Cliff and Bob Peters are the ones that are basically full voting members that
Voting
got
members.
done. Laura was an alternate.
right.
Yes,
So now we'll have alternate positions available, but we will not have any voting
Voting
spots
positions,
available.
'cause
that's right.
Tony
You have
and-
3 alternates and we need 3 appointees.
Right.
If I can.
Yes, I will mention that Jerry Botcher, we will do also, pardon me. So we have a motion and a second, and we're having our discussion on this. They're
Can
gonna be,
we do these individually?
no,
Or can-
there's a motion and a second. We're having our discussion.
That was part of the discussion.
All right, let's take a vote. We want a roll call vote this one.
Roll
please.
call.
Yes.
Tim?
No.
John?
Yes.
Laura?
I would have voted for Pat, sorry. No.
That wasn't the motion, though.
I
You
know.
can't just put stuff in.
I thought that we were gonna have a vote. I apologize.
Okay, Tina?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So the motion's carried.
Yes.
Tony and Jim are now full members of the planning board, and Susan Gabel is a more member of the Board of Assessment Review. Don
Yeah.
pointed out to me, and I'm going to make another resolution that we hold Jerry Botcher over on the planning board. His term expired at the end of December. We're perfectly willing to, have him hold over for the time being and retain his position as a member of the planning board. May I have a motion to accept that?
Make it.
A second, please.
Second.
Any discussion?
Didn't you just say a few minutes ago that you don't hold with that and appointment should be on the agenda?
You may be right. So how about this? We can remove that and he just holds over without a resolution of support from the board.
Well, would
We
it be
could
on
just-
the agenda for the next meeting? And
But he would no longer be a voting member at the next meeting. Because he's no longer a member if we don't reappoint him to the board.
When's the next meeting, can I ask? Our next meeting for.
It's
as a board will be
January 31st.
And which is it for the planning board, I mean? When is theirs? Haven't they already have it? Is
Yes.
theirs the
Yeah, we
first?
had
The first Tuesday.
Okay, so you guys can make a decision before they do theirs.
Yeah, we'll withdraw Jerry Butcher.
We're on schedule for February 6th.
Thank you.
And we need Jerry to make the forum anyway.
Yeah, well, good.
Not unless you appoint somebody else.
In previous years, if I may, when this has sort of slipped under the radar and people have continued to vote and then their reappointment was made in April or March or later on in the year, and they've just continued on as regular members of the board. I guess you'd call that a holdover member. Yeah.
So it's kind of been done.
That's okay. I mean, I don't think we need to take any action. I was just giving him some support.
Because it's common practice, has been, members have been on the board, have always got reappointed.
Yep.
If so desired.
Yeah, this is just it's their holdover candidacies until so the board can fill the place.
So there are no alternates on the planning board, correct?
That's correct.
Can we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
We can discuss that outside of this meeting. So what are we doing with Jerry?
That's what I was just gonna ask. Okay, Darren, okay, Jerry, but not to stay, so can we change it to just be staying?
I don't know, I made the motion for him to stay on the board, but I don't know where the vote was gone.
You seconded that. You're still seconding it?
I'm still seconding.
Okay, now we'll take a vote.
Any further discussion? Do we have a roll call vote?
Okay, Tim?
I'm in favor of it. But I do think appointments should be on the agenda.
Darren?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Favor?
Yes.
Okay.
The next thing on the agenda was the special meeting announcements, the STR ordinance changes. I had tentatively announced that we were shooting for January 18th because we would like full participation of the board at any public meeting of those lines. We've been obliged to probably move this in towards the early part of the February. So I will probably make an announcement as soon as we actually coordinate our calendars and work on a day. Hopefully the people who are members of the STR committee will, be amenable to the fact that we're working on a date that will work for everybody. And so we'll try our best to give them a heads up so they can be present and answer questions and have a good discussion and hopefully productive discussion. So that was on the agenda, but it's not. The next is there's certain contracts that we've been reviewing, and I would like to make a resolution to the board to have me enter into these contracts and or not. The first is a resolution to ratify the contract that I signed on the two contracts I signed on January 1st before the board meeting, one of which was the yearly contract with Behavioral Health Services North, which is a mandatory behavioral services requirement for the employees of the town of Wilmington. I was just concerned that, I don't want any kind of a lapse. So I executed this contract on January 1st, and I'm making a motion to have you ratify my authority so that this contract is good for the town. You had a chance to look at it. Basically, I took some notes here. It's a contract for a 12-month period from January 1st. It's billed quarterly per employee for $10. There are extra services. It has sort of a menu of services for which, an employee who needs the services can get further services, and they're it's like a menu, so they're priced accordingly. $100 for this or something like that. So that's the first one. The second one was a credit card application that I signed on behalf of the town for a $5,000 credit limit on behalf of the community. It's a new card, and it's called a Visa Community Card. So those are the two. I left those in for you to look at. We have a resolution to ratify my signing those.
Motion.
Laura, second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Why are we getting a credit card?
The credit card comes in handy we have to make certain vending purchases.
And that's the only one we have?
It's the only one we have. I'm the only signer, and it's locked. And believe me, I'm the one putting my own personal stuff on it, so.
Because the card that the town currently has, Roy had to personally guarantee. Because the bank did not tell us that this other type was made available, so we need to get his name off of it, and this is how we're going about it.
Okay.
Or are you asking about credit cards generally?
I'm asking about credit cards because we're going through this audit right now.
Oh.
And that's why I'm asking because of
No,
the fact of
I-
what they're asking us and why you have a credit card and what you're using it for and where you're going and why you have a credit card as a town and you don't, and what you're charging on it and what, so that's why I'm asking you why we went and got a new credit card and what we're using it for.
I don't want to use it for anything.
So that's why I'm asking you why we have a credit card and why we're getting it. Because that's one of
Always
the things
nice,
we're going through.
always nice to have in an emergency.
Well, plus I think like Nicole and stuff has ordered stuff off of Amazon before, off of it, and it's basically the only way to do it.
Uses it when you go to the conferences.
They don't want you
things
to
like
do that no more. They want you to have an account on Amazon because Amazon lets you have accounts now.
We do both. But in any case, that's the.
So yes,
that's the-
okay.
That's the
That's why I was
discussion.
just wondering why we had the credit card.
Okay, so, any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, a vote, please? Not roll call.
Motion in the second, we need the vote.
Yes, let's just all in favor.
Aye.
So the next contract, hopefully you had a chance with, is the annual contract with the SCPA. The town contracts with the Northern New York SCPA for the help with some of our dogs and animals, and for which it's an annual contract, and the town will be paying the SCPA $1,917.09. And so I'd like a motion, a resolution authorizing the town to enter into this agreement and authorizing me to sign the contract.
Make it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. The next is an agreement between the town of Wilmington and the Adirondack Park Local Government Review Board. This is an annual contract for 1 year for which the town pays the review board $300. And the review board agrees to provide the benefit of its services. We'll find out. Attendance at all meetings at the Adirondack Park Agency, public hearings and things like that. So apparently they will be helping to represent the smaller communities at some of those state proceedings for which we might be interested in going and being heard on, but we just don't have the persons to do it. So we pay this every year. They renew this contract, and it's $300 with this organization. So any discussion? All those in favor? Gary,
Did somebody make it, or are we putting it under the other? I need a motion, I need a second.
oh, I didn't make the motion?
No, if you did, I didn't hear.
All right, I apologize.
Motion,
Second.
maybe I fell asleep. Everybody's for it.
So the next agreement, we can have some further discussion on this, is a 3-year contract with the Bioconservation Inc. regarding the BTI program. And the resolution is to enter into a contract with Bioconservative for the BTI program for a 3-year term with payments as follows: $20,100 for 2024, $20,700 for 2025, and $21,300 for 2026, and that you would enter into the agreement and authorize me to sign this contract. I have a motion to accept that.
I'll make it.
A second.
I'll make it, I'll second it.
Discussion. I have a question. Do we sign 3-year contracts with these guys, or
It's pretty typical.
that's
Yeah.
typical?
Yeah.
They don't give like a 1-year deal? No?
They've actually already started doing the BTI for this contract here. We haven't signed
Yeah.
yet. We've been doing it with them for so long. They know we're going to.
And it's something that we can't afford not to do, because when it's not there,
No,
we get carried away.
that's fine. I just, it was,
They'll be banging on your door.
it's the 3 years and the amount of the checks, the only two things I was thinking about. Anybody else have any discussion? Go ahead, Bert.
Is there anything in that contract? I mean, because one of the years we had that rain and it flooded everything out, and we had terrible, black flies afterwards. Do we have anything written in there that protects us from something like that?
I'm looking.
I think that year, if I remember right, they came back and they retreated again. The only thing was, they couldn't do anything about the hatch that had already hatched. You know. Again, I could be wrong.
No. To answer your question, they don't have any, that's like almost like a guarantee to come back if the job wasn't done well the first time. I don't see that they have anything like that.
But most contracts, regardless of whether it's this or anything else, they're never gonna agree to something like that because it's an environmental and nature causing thing that you can't predict. So I don't think you'd get anybody to say, all right, well, if we have heavy rains every spring, we're always gonna retreat, because that can happen every single year, may never happen for the next 20 years.
Are they the only game in town? Are they the only option?
I think so.
So
100% sure.
I don't know the answer to that.
Nobody's ever given us
I
another
think that's what
price.
everybody does.
And I think
Everyone come
everybody
around.
uses it.
Yes,
Yeah.
How do we know the work is actually being done? What kind of checks do we have that, we're getting the correct application in the streams and stuff? Do we have any?
we'd have, I suppose we could hire a town engineer and follow them around and report back to us, because we don't have the competence to judge whether they're doing a good job or not. So,
Cost a fortune.
They usually do notify the town when it's being done and the dates that it's being done.
no, apart from that, I couldn't tell whether they're applying the right kind of biogenetic, whatever. When you get eaten by him? All right.
Art has another
There's one
question.
more question.
Sorry, what's that? Oops.
I was just going to say,
Right.
every year we see new BTI tags on the flume trails, where they treat the streams on a regular basis. And this year we didn't see them.
You mean this past season, or because we haven't signed the
This past
contract?
season.
Okay, haven't signed the contract yet. I don't know. Tony, please.
Depending upon the person that applicates is how their procedure is. So as I've known this BTI guy that has been doing this area for quite some time, he's very thorough, and you make sure he's got the right hatch to treat, and he puts up tags and stuff, but he has now left that application, so now we have somebody new. Maybe they don't know about putting up tags, and so it's just a procedure that the company would have to
Okay.
make sure they're.
Well, that's something that maybe I can talk to them specifically and say, kindly let us know and make markers about where you've been, so we can, so people in the public can't, aren't sitting here thinking that you didn't do anything. You weren't ever here. You just drove by. Something like that. So I'll be happy to do that. I'll talk to these guys about this. Pat, yes.
Does the Unstable River Association monitor it?
Don't know. Does anyone know? I don't. Which part? The BTI part?
The application of it, I think they do.
I'll ask. Any further discussion? So this is the BTI contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Now, the next two I expect we'll have some discussion on. The first is the renewal of the short-term rental solution through GovOS. This is a one-year contract for the sum of $11,000, and it runs the calendar year, January 1 to December 31. These are the organization that handles the online database for our short-term rental management database, collecting fees and things like that. So we could have a resolution to accept me signing the contract on behalf and entering into this contract, and we can have some discussion about it. I could do it that way. So I'm going to make the resolution that we enter into this contract for $11,000 in 1 year upon the same terms and conditions as the previous contract we're basically renewing. And then we'll do authorize me to sign it on behalf of the town. That's the resolution. Is our motion.
Make it.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
So I read the contract, but there's no information in the contract about what they provide to the town. I know that people know that, but as far as me trying to have some sense of what they provide through reading the contract, it was almost completely devoid.
No, this is one of those robo forms that they send you in your inbox and ask you to sign. I was looking for a full PDF copy to download and print out, but I was not successful. So that's what we have. My own view before, anyone else have an opinion about whether we should renew? Want to discuss
I have a
it?
question where the money comes
Just
from.
from the,
I'm curious, what does it do?
they're the ones that gather the information. They take all the permitting information. So if somebody applies to become an STR permit, they're the ones who, they go onto that portal, they make the payments, they get asked the questions that whatever that we need to do to authorize somebody to have a short-term rental permit in Wilmington. So that's what they do. I think we're going to discuss we're going to discuss it first before I go to the public, please. Just we're going to discuss it first. We may be going in the same direction as where you're headed. So let us discuss that first, please. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if the money for this comes from the fees from the short-term rentals.
I think it does.
Okay.
My own.
I would like that if it isn't.
It does.
Okay,
It does.
great.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the question is whether, if we don't sign this contract, whether Wilmington can undertake the same jobs that these guys provide. First of all, it's a database. And you know, how big a database can it possibly be? Then they accept funds, sort of like, I think funds and receipts. I think people could pay at the town hall. You know, we don't have a website that's sophisticated enough to do any of this stuff online, exactly. But we're a small enough community that we may be able to do this in-house. But I think I'd like to have a little more discussion because $11,000 is a chunk, and it may look like it's a net, but it would certainly be helpful if this is something that doesn't kill us in terms of overworking some poor person in the town hall.
I don't disagree with you on the discussion or anything, but basically, how long is it gonna take us to set up? One of the biggest things in the community is managing vacation rentals, and we have all this data, and we have people applying for new permits and everything. All of a sudden, we don't renew a contract. Now what do we do for the next 6 months while we figure something else out?
Are we frozen? In other words, we locked out because we were suddenly frozen out because they won't give us our stuff back. They won't give us the data. I mean, that's probably.
I mean, until we get other systems in place, I don't think we have a choice.
Well, it's the 9th. Are we frozen now?
No, they're continuing to hold over, but I'm sure they're anticipating.
It's not indefinite.
That they'll stop at some point and they'll just turn off the switch.
No one has downloaded. We don't have that information anywhere else other than through this app.
Is Mr. Nevick here? Doug? He'll tell us a little bit more about what they do too, because he's the one that operates it mostly.
Yeah,
Doug, we're having a discussion. Good evening. we're discussing that contract, and so the question is that if we don't renew it, and they just turn off the switch one day, could the town recover?
Absolutely.
And so ask your questions right away, Doug, so I get out.
Okay, do we have this info? They collect the information from the SCR owners. They accept the permits and they accept the fees and they transfer the fees to us. The information presumably is stored through their website. Do we have that information anywhere else?
Yes, I have hard copies.
Okay, so we have.
Is it beneficial to continue with them because you're the ones that work with them, or could we discontinue this month and be up and running again for next month?
The only downside of not using them is they scrub whatever sites they scrub, and we do get certain amount of information from STRs from that. However, the amount of information we get really doesn't justify the cost. So at this point, I mean, if you shut it down today, I can continue running.
The other point that's important is we've done 131 permits. Obviously, there are still a few out there that are not permitted, but I wouldn't think it would be more than 5 or 10. There's a certain number that
We have
are.
a very small handful that are floating around that is happening, but it's really slowed down.
So we have 95% or so. We have that data.
Right, we have a little bit of people who are just nervous about the rules and they're getting these applications in just to cover themselves for the future. To give them a foot in the door. So there's a certain amount of these that wouldn't have happened anyway unless the rules are coming down.
They're not actually running STRs. They're
Correct, they're getting their foot in the door
Because
or
there's-
choose to do so.
Just in case the limit goes.
If they don't renew this, do you have time to pick up what they do?
I can do what I do. The scrubbing of the websites, that's very difficult. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do that, but maybe other people can help with that. I have no idea.
Could you tell me what scrubbing means? Because I don't really
It's
follow.
reviewing the ads that are out there to determine where the STRs are so they can tell us and we can submit letters to them and have them become permanent.
This site would go like to VRBO, VRB and all this stuff, and they would look.
Yep.
Their system would comb through them.
Thank you.
There are other far less expensive software companies that do that too. But I think that the benefit of this, I've been told, is that they go beyond Airbnb and VRBO. They would look at Craigslist and Adirondack by owner and.
No, they don't.
They do
only
not.
that. They only do that if you pay for it.
Oh, so.
And
Because AirDNA is like $300 a year, and they give you the information from Airbnb and VRBO as far as where they are.
And the Adirondack by owner.
No, they don't scrub that one.
Right.
But this company does.
They would,
If
but
we,
they charge a lot of money.
so they don't.
They're
So
not doing that for us. No,
it would be the same. We'd have the same.
correct.
So
This gives you their addresses, correct?
Correct.
All right, because AirDNA does not. You have to find their address.
Well, we can try our best to
Oh, no,
find.
I know. Yeah,
she's found them.
but, if we exited the contract, could we get back into it if we found it was overwhelming?
I do not know what they would do with that.
Double it.
Probably.
Well, I-
Yeah, it costs us more.
I don't really feel that necessary. For a small town, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
At this point, we have 95% of the information, hopefully. So I accept Doug's recommendation.
Well, the motion is in fact for me to sign it. We're having the discussion. So I suppose we could vote me to not sign it and then make a further sort of discussion that we can move forward and maybe revisit this at the next meeting. So I don't sign this contract, but then we get more information from Doug between now and then about what it would take. Does that sound appropriate?
Those table.
It's a
Table.
table, it's a table, basically. So how do we do that? You want to
I'm
table?
gonna write it after discussion. It was tabled.
Thank you. So that was tabled. The,
Bring up one more point about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
This topic. So when Nancy was hired initially, my impression was that the major reason she was being hired was to deal with the STR permits. And I'm just wondering, I guess that isn't the case at this point, and could she pick up some of that slack? And
That's what she does.
that is what she does.
She does whatever Doug needs to do, and when Doug doesn't have a lot of stuff to do, she finds the addresses and things that the other companies can't. She
She was doing a
helps,
lot of backroom research, like
Yeah,
trying to find.
she helps with Nicole
and
with
we were-
stuff that she
compare
needs.
notes and try to track people down that way. And it was somewhat helpful, but it was very, very time consuming and it didn't pan out a lot.
But at $16 an hour, that might be more cost effective than $11,000 a year.
yeah, well, we tabled it. I'm happy with that. Okay with that too. David, you had your hand up and I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a question which actually just echoes Tim's comment, which was the cost benefit analysis in terms of the labor costs for the town versus the 11,000. So Tim's point is well made.
Thank you. So that's been tabled. The next agreement is the annual contract between the town of Wilmington and the Whiteface Mountain Regional Visitors Bureau. This runs from January 2024 until December 31st, 2024. And this contract, I just basically took last year's contract and put a January 2024 on it. It calls for the town to budget $14,000 for its funds to be paid in two payments, first of which is the 1st of March 2024, and the second is the 1st of July 2024. The purpose of this is to promote publicity and maximum utilization of Wilmington facilities by visitors and conference groups for the benefit of our community, the government, and the taxpayer interests. The Bureau has been organized and operates so as to develop and encourage and protect Wilmington and its interests. So that is the agreement. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the agreement and authorize me to sign the agreement. For a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, but for discussion.
Discussion, please.
So I know there has been discussion, we had discussed it, Roy had discussed it, there had been discussions with Michelle about ways to possibly amend the agreement to maybe further benefit the town rather than make it feel like we're giving money to the organization and the town not getting as much benefit out of it. That was one of Tim's concerns in the past. So I have no problem with the agreement and everything that they're doing, but possibly we can approve 6 months and then have discussion with the Visitors Bureau before we pay the second payment. So we can maybe redirect those funds in a different way, whether it be via the town or the Visitors Bureau contract at that time.
Any discussion?
I would like us to have a meeting with the Visitors Bureau and Roost and as a board and discuss what the responsibilities of the Visitors Bureau are based upon the needs of the town.
So just remember, the only thing I'm going to say about that is Roos has nothing to do with our,
Visit per se, as much, they don't contribute as much to our town.
Roost pays the Visitors Bureau $18,000
but what I'm saying
and they
is,
manage the website and numerous other things. But I would like to have a discussion as a board with them before we sign an agreement for our $14,000.
our contract is independent of Roos.
I understand.
I don't know what any of the details are. Is it possible I'm just trying to think of a way forward. So the motion is to accept an annual contract for $14,000. Darren has suggested that we modify this contract for a 6-month period with the sum of $7,000. That we could probably put in a provision that says that the board will seek a meeting. The way in which contracts get amended is, they could, either party can call a meeting and try to seek amendment of the terms, because I don't know what we were saying, Darren, about which terms, may be missing or could be included on the Visitors Bureau side that make the town happy, or the town. I don't know any of the details of that. And I'm just trying to think of a way of a path forward so we can keep moving, so we can have discussions, but at the same time not foreclose the contract and get the Visitors Bureau and then it kind of bind. So I don't know. I'm just discussing what my hope would be.
Well, that's why I kind of proposed 6 months, so we had time to have those discussions, but in the meantime, they're still funded to continue their activities.
I believe they have. I don't know for a fact, so I retract my statement. I just did want to say that the way that the town funds the Visitors Bureau is not just limited to the 14,000 town employees. Town taxpayers pay for roughly $8,000, or will this year pay for roughly $8,000 in town employees' time for Visitors Bureau events, plus the building that the town owns, the Visitors Bureau does not pay rent for, and the town takes the trash, does the plowing, etc., landscaping, etc.
Yeah, the Visitors Bureau just paid thousands of dollars for upgrades to a building that we don't even own.
Who takes out the trash?
So to say that.
Who plows the parking lot?
Hold on, order. I don't like people talking at each other across these things, okay? It seems to me that there's plenty to talk about between the Visitors Bureau and the town. Okay, we're gonna table this motion. We'll bring it up at the January 31st meeting. And in the meantime, hopefully, people can actually outline what it is that they're specifically concerned about, so we can get some sort of agreement terms, so we have something to discuss instead of this back and forth nonsense. Appreciate that. So I'm going to move to table. Thank you.
I'll second.
Any discussion about my table motion?
Yes, I asked at the September meeting, the last time this came up, for a copy of the Visitors Bureau budget, and that still has not been provided.
Stand by. Okay. Any other discussion? So this is a motion to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So please, there's no point when people can't talk, they're talking cross at each other, and you're saying you're paying for this and you're paying for that. It's a perfectly sensible way to actually outline what it is that's being expended and sharing that information, which we're moving on to. The next thing on the agenda is, what is it? Oh, so have we done the contracts? All right, it's the annual report from the Visitors Bureau.
So Tim, you will find the budget is included in here.
Thank you.
So this will give us something to read before that meeting. We have a big meeting.
So all of this will be available online tomorrow. You can email me if you want a PDF copy of it. It's going to be on our Facebook page, but it outlines everything that our office has done over the last year. It's got some financial information, including how much we put into the building this year. So you'll see that we are not wasting your money. And it shows where we put our efforts that just for Wilmington, not tourists, but your tax dollars that are going truly into Wilmington and all the community events that we do for the town. And it also shows all the dates for this year's events. So you can put it on your calendar and everything and mark it up.
I did also want to let you know that we are looking for committee members this year. We want to make our events bigger and better, and it takes community involvement. So if you want to be on a committee for an event, let me know. In regards to town employees working events, we have 4 major events, which are the Two Fly, the bike race, the foot race, and Festival of Colors. Out of those events, the only event that town employees work is Festival of Colors. And I think you all will agree that it's very well attended and one of the town's very favorite events. So Tim, just, you know, that's.
What about the music fest?
That is, the Music Fest is actually a town event. It is not a Visitors Bureau event, and Darren can attest to that.
It's nothing that the Visitors Bureau planned. The town came up with that. The Visitor Bureau assisted for financial reasons because it's easier to run through their budget than town budget.
I'm willing to learn all about this. I think it's good. Thank you, Michelle. Now, this meeting is, we're going to try to draw this to a close. You know, the normal regular meetings, we have reports from the various departments and things like that. But this, because of the organizational nature, this is sort of run on. We do have, next is board members can give a few minutes if they want to report on something specifically. I have a few comments, and then invite public comment at the end, and then we'll adjourn. So that's the roadmap for the rest of the meeting. So let's go. Does any board member have anything they want to report?
Yeah, I do. I need approval to transfer the expenses and accept the minutes.
No, wait. We're not going to do it.
We're not doing that this time?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Are we allowed, can I just ask one question about the Visitors Bureau sheet that they gave us? Are we still in that option?
No, it's your report, but I'd like to do it in a certain amount of order.
How to do the transfer.
For the vouchers we do, so she can take
Okay.
that.
It's bills that we have to pay right now.
You
that
have-
we
She
decide.
can't do
Okay,
that.
just let me,
Okay.
I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. So, what kind of order should we go on for board members to get a chance to talk?
Do it alphabetical the way you had it for roll call.
Tim, you're first.
Okay. We have talked about our fee schedules for our building permit fees. Is Doug still here?
Yeah.
So I just have a general question. When someone starts a project without a permit, whatever type of project it is there a penalty for doing that in Wilmington?
No,
There probably should be, right?
it depends on the nature of it. Anything that had happened that didn't have a permit, it was rectified quickly, so it really hasn't been an issue
That we know of, right?
that we know of.
So other towns do have in their fee schedules penalties for undertaking projects without valid permits. And I did create a fee schedule with Wilmington, North Elba, Jay, and Keene. And Wilmington's is the oldest and pretty consistently also the lowest for our building permit fees. So I will and then I've also added Wilmington's fees adopted in 2010, adjusted for inflation, what those fees would be today. So I will photocopy this all and put this in everyone's mailbox. Similarly, we've been talking about the cost to the taxpayers for the events in town. And Tina's done a similar exercise, and hopefully my numbers are pretty close to yours. From our Parks Department, we did receive estimates of, he's been doing this 13 years, so he knows how long they spend working at each event. And I will photocopy this, and hopefully my numbers match yours. The youth committee, I'm the town board's liaison to the youth committee. They wanted me to bring up several things, quite a few things. Their meetings are the first Thursday of the month at 5:30, and they are eager for greater public participation. The meetings are held at the park building here by the old Little League field. The last board, there was quite a lot of discussion about the youth committee, which does run quite formally. They have a president and a vice president. They have meetings, and they take minutes, and the minutes are on the town's website. We talked several meetings about them getting a prepaid card because their spending comes out of the town budget. There's a line item for $6,000 in the town budget. They also do a lot of fundraising, and then that fundraising goes back into the town account. So we had talked about, and everyone was on board with giving them a $500 prepaid card for their board members to use for skiing emergencies. And at this point, I wish some of those board members were here so they could speak to what they need it for. Yes, but there's been some sort of kink, and they have never received the debit card or the prepaid card. So they asked, I told them I would bring it up again, and hopefully they can get that prepaid card. Hearing nothing further, I'll move on. They asked me to mention the youth skiing program, which operates selected Sundays, selected non-holiday Sundays, and is getting up and running. I don't know what they wanted me to bring up beyond that, beyond its existence. There was quite a lot of discussion. They repeatedly asked for a rink etiquette sign to be made for the skating rink. That sign was never made. I think that too was agreed to last year around this time, but they never received anything. So hearing no objection, perhaps I'll ask them to communicate with you about.
Well, yeah, what objection? They can tell me what they're thinking,
Mhm.
and that's fine. I have a certain learning curve here I'm going through, so I'd be happy to listen to anybody.
They'll be adopting bylaws, if not at their next meeting. They'll be starting the conversation very seriously about their bylaws at the next meeting, which again is the first Thursday of the month at 5:30. They had asked that their bottle drop, and then this again is a Doug question. Their bottle drop for their fundraiser be moved somewhere more visible at the dump. This is something I know nothing about, where the bottle drop is, but they asked for their bottle drop to be moved at the dump.
Within the confines of the dump, there's very little space. If you want to put it outside the fence of the dump, that's fine.
I think that is what they wanted. What would be the problem with that? There's no problem at all?
wouldn't care.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
So it's on the inside of the fence, which actually gets more traffic on the outside of the fence, because when cars are pulling into the dump, it's still behind the first initial gate when you go into the dump. So it's not like somebody can come after hours and throw it in there. I mean, they can, but they'd still have to park at the first gate and still walk in and throw them in. So it's not like it'd be readily accessible
Mhm.
when the dump's not open. It's still only readily accessible when the dump's open. I've worked there in the past, I mean, years ago, and Doug works there, but for the most part, cars don't stop twice and stop before the gate, throw out bottles, then turn around and go in, take their garbage out. They drive in, they take their garbage out, they unload their bottles there. Many of the times, the bottles are left with Doug, and he throws them in the youth center one rather than carrying them to the alternate that's outside of the gate, which is for Lake Placid School. So it's actually more beneficial to be inside because people aren't stopping twice, and Doug uses the internal one rather than going outside to dump his bottles. Am I correct, Doug?
Correct.
Well, can't they have that discussion instead of us doing it through proxies with us, please?
Then the final thing they asked me to bring up is the previous town board, they had asked for a donation box to be put at the beach. And again, everyone agreed with that for the youth committee. No one had an issue with that. But, and there was a donation box put up at the beach, but it's just for the beach. And I believe they haven't received any money from it. So they asked me to bring that up.
As far as what I remember, and Tina can attest to this, is we approved a donation box, but we did not approve what those funds were going to be used for. We didn't want them limited to just the youth center. They were used for recreational activities in the town.
Okay.
So no, they weren't supposed to go just to the youth center.
How that was their understanding.
That's not the way I remember it, and not the
Roy said
way.
he couldn't limit it to just one thing when we had a meeting that night.
Does anyone know what happened to those funds and how much they are?
That
Well,
I
I'm sure it's in the
don't
accounting
know who
through
has the
Nicole.
key.
Yeah, it would have gone to Nicole's office, not mine. It didn't come to mine.
And then the last thing related to the budget is, we don't know, Nicole, as far as I know, we don't know whether the fees for the applications for the planning board for permits, planning board permits people receive. We don't know whether those bounce out with the costs of running a planning board, the mail and the secretary, et
I
cetera.
have nothing with me to
I'm-
answer that question
Okay.
right now.
I don't have the cost, but I have it's on your reports what the planning board
Yes,
got for
but
money.
the year for whether whether those numbers bounce for the whole year, or whether we're bringing in less for the permits than we're charging for fees. Or rather, we're bringing in less through the fees than our planning board's costs are. So I'd just like that information maybe by the next meeting if possible. Thanks.
With everything else, I have
Okay.
permits.
Thank you.
Darren? Thank you.
I just got two quick things because
Yes,
we have another meeting to get to.
yes, and I have to make this resolution too, so pardon.
One, I don't know, I'm just gonna do it as a blanket. I'd like to attend the New York Associations of Towns and Village, or Towns Conference in New York City. I mean, this is something that is always open to the whole board and supervisor every year. I think yourself is going and maybe Nicole and stuff, so I would like to go to that.
Okay.
And any other board members that would like to attend. So I'd just like to get a resolution to formally approve that, through the board. And then the other one, just we can discuss about it on the 31st or wherever, is the Parks Department has requested a sander for the sidewalks because right now they're sanding them with a shovel out of the back of the truck, and it's time to get into the 21st century. So we just need to have some discussion on purchasing that sander.
Yes, we've gotten some written quotes for that purchase. It seemed sensible to me, watching them in this big storm over the weekend, slogging their way through our sidewalks and trying their best with, limited equipment. We do our best, but having a sander on the back of a truck may be more useful than just for the sidewalks for the town. So yeah, that's something John has put together proposals for, and we definitely try to get that to the board's attention ahead of the January 31st meeting. I think that we will also, when is the date for the New York City trip?
February 18th through the 22nd, I believe.
We'll deal with that on the January 31st meeting too.
Well, we only have to the 31st to get payment in to be,
27th has to be your rooms.
Oh,
It is a valuable conference.
okay, so you don't mind me breaking my own rule and making a resolution now?
I'm gonna keep you to your own rules.
Thank you. Well, we'll hold a special meeting, that's what we'll do. Ahead of that.
well, and I mean, I understand that the rules are there for a reason, but there's always circumstances where we have to.
There is
make things.
there's an actual way of introducing a resolution on the floor, and that is to get the consent of at least four of us on the board. You just go like this. I consent. Anybody else consent?
And this was
There we go.
There we go, 4 of us.
So there's now,
discussion.
no, we can have it. So that's called the rule of, that allows 66% of the people sitting on the board to, have a new resolution introduced without it being on the agenda, as long as they know what they're talking about, so they don't feel like they've been ambushed. So you haven't been ambushed. So the resolution is that the town approve and authorize that, who's going? Me?
I would like to go if everyone can go. It's extremely expensive, but it is a
Well,
worthwhile
if you would like to go, I'll defer. I think we should send 3. It's okay with me. So if want to go, and Tim, you went last year, right, Tim?
Yes.
And you want to go again this year?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure they'll be talking about different things and
So,
different questions.
What,
Tina, are you?
I'm going, but I can share it with King too.
so Darren?
I mean, I would like to attend because I didn't
Okay.
attend last year, and
I
I
figure
would
it
think
out.
that, at least
That's fine.
Something
Darren,
I've been thinking
yes, Joe?
you haven't gone in
I don't
favor,
think
so.
you should limit it because
Exactly.
it is valuable.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to spend money
You definitely should go.
in New York City. Okay, all right.
There's nobody cheaper than me, but if it's gonna be a value report.
All right, all
Very,
right.
very valuable.
Okay, so the resolution is that the town approve and authorize that board members Darren Forbes, Tim Follis, Tina Preston,
You should go.
and Faber Smith. She wants to go to the one
I'm
in
going to the
Albany.
basic
Going to one and all.
conference.
So
The
no, no,
newbie
yeah.
conference, that's what I'm going to.
So that's the resolution. May I have a motion?
Just on discussion as far as,
Motion first, then we get a second, then we discuss.
With Nicole included, I'll make it.
Oh, Nicole.
And
Yes.
Nicole.
I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Nicole. I didn't realize it. And Nicole.
I'll second.
Discussion?
the way to make it cheaper would be not staying at the hotel where the conference is, because it's an extremely nice hotel. You could stay somewhere else and still attend the conference. That's not allowed? You can't stay somewhere else? You have to stay at that hotel?
I let him finish what it said. Go ahead.
You have to stay
The
there.
price of the taxis and stuff would make up the difference in a hurry. You'd end up actually spending more by the time you stay somewhere in New York
Yeah,
City,
I was
park
gonna,
a car.
I was gonna go in the subway, don't you worry. I live life dangerously.
But it would really make it more expensive. I
That's
think,
fine.
for you guys.
That's fine. So there's the motion, there's the second, there's discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Fee to attend the conference. Can you attend the conference without staying at the hotel? Can you
Yes.
stay somewhere else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
But this- Maybe we could look at that.
no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, I have one other thing before we do further reports, and I'm sorry to talk to Nicole about here. I'm not familiar, we've done the claims audit for the bills that need to be paid. What sort of resolution should I be making?
Motion paid. the expenses.
Motion to pay those expenses? Does it involve anything else?
Transfers.
Transfers funds?
Yeah.
Okay. Transfers of funds in amount equal to the sum total of the expenses that are found within these particular approved payments. Okay. So we have a resolution to approve the payment of these outstanding bills that are due and payable, and that the supervisor is hereby, or you do it electronically or I transfer? Okay, never mind. And so we transfer the funds sufficient to make sure that these bills get paid that have been approved and audited by the board. How's that for a motion? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion. No discussion? Aye, all right. Okay, so Darren's, Laura?
One question for Michelle.
Thank you.
The music festival is on your income, but it's a town event. I don't understand that.
Because at the time that we started it, it was perceived that it was better that the money go in and out through the Visitors Bureau, even though it was a town-sponsored event. And so because the money, when it finally starts building a profit, then the money is going to be used for town functions. And so it was created through a committee through the town. It was never created through the Visitors Bureau Board.
The Visitors Bureau doesn't spend any of that money. Any money that it profits is then, right, correct, Michelle, is then presented to the town, and the town decides where those funds are distributed, is the easiest way to do it. So the
basically,
Visitors
it's an
Bureau receives no
independent
profit.
event. It's independent. It's not dictated by the town board, and it's not dictated by the Visitors Bureau Board. It's an independent committee, basically, that the Visitors Bureau is holding the funds for, just so that the funds are going through an office. That's the best way to describe it.
So it's not really included in our budget.
That's why it shows a wash there, it doesn't really show, actually, you're looking at last year's budget, you're not looking at the current year's.
This is 2023.
Right, I was thinking about the 24 budget and show the wash.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's That's why, that's the history of how it started. This
Okay,
is a
but I
town
don't-
event.
I would have to see where the wash is, because I don't see a wash.
No, that's why I corrected myself.
Okay.
In the next budget, because I had to have a line item, I just threw in 5,000 income, 5,000 as expense, just so that they would balance out, just so that there's a line item in there. That's why I said it was a wash, but I forgot you're looking at the other budget.
I, just part of my,
She's talking.
I just need to clarify some things that I said tonight. The reason I thought that Pat would be a good person on the board is because I think we need some female representation. It's not a problem with anything else. That was I didn't get to say that, and I wanted to say that. I do not have a problem with the Visitors Bureau. I think you guys do a fabulous job. I just would like some clarity, and I think the town should have more say. And that is why I would like to have a meeting. I do not have any problem with what you do. I think you guys do a bang-up job, and I have said that many, many times, and it's not a personal attack. I just wish we had some say and some clarity, and I'd like to have a meeting. That's it. So I appreciate anybody who has allowed me to go to this meeting that we're having, that I'm going to. I don't know who voted for that, but I'm going in a week to Albany. I hope to learn more. I hope to represent the town. I hope that everything will just try to move forward. But just before any discussion, that it's truly just a learning curve, but I would like some more information. Okay? That's where I'm gonna end my report.
Thank you. Tina?
You're really gonna like that meeting you're going to.
I thank you.
You'll get a lot of information out of it.
Appreciate it.
Library reports, all I have this month. Kate Tassler retired after many years of service. So if you see Kate, thank her for being on the board for many years. Friends Cookie Sale and Christmas Raffle was very successful this year. Thank you to everybody in the community who really supported that. The new STEM program is starting for the youth program at the library. And knitting classes are beginning, and they're started on the 13th. They'll start, and they'll go for 6 weeks. If you have any questions, call the library. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. I don't have much else to say. I sort of mentioned it, but I'm just going to summarize a little bit. I'm certainly, my hope is for the first part is I've had a very terrific first week and a half or whatever it is. And I appreciate that I'm getting to go out and ride with the town trucks and learn a little bit more about what is actually going on in the various buildings and what the departments do. And I'm very impressed with the way how nice and how hardworking people have been with me. I'm kind of, as you can tell, I'm kind of pedestrian about the way in which I'd like to see the town move forward. There's questions about the fees that Tim brings up. Yes, they need to be reviewed and installed, but we need to do a lot of that. All of our policies have whiskers on them, and they need to be looked at. The procurement policy, it's got whiskers on it. The state of New York is going around and, they've auditing all around us, and eventually they're going to come and circle and come and visit town of Wilmington. So I'm focused on getting Wilmington to, present well, that we're doing things the way, we're a small town, they make some allowances, but they certainly are looking to see that we run things well. And I'm hopeful I can help out in the offices and things like that to focus on those kinds of things, which, isn't me, talking, changing things. But we need a lot of volunteers for I'd like to see a zoning board of appeals. We may need to reconstitute the cannabis board. I don't know. I'll be happy to have a discussion on a topic that I don't really know much about, but we may need volunteers for that. So the zoning board of appeals would need 7 to be really good. Then the 2 boards can work with each other to make suggested changes to the land use code. So the land use codes need to get reviewed and revised every 10 years or so. It's like lots of things. Our subdivision regulations were from 2007. So it's a lot of hard work for which, I hope lots of people can volunteer and be, work together to try to make these things up to date, more workable the way as Wilmington is today. I don't, I mean, I know what I particularly like, what I like to see change and things like that, but it's not as important to me right now is to make sure that we work cooperatively and try to tackle some of these things. So I appreciate it, and that's pretty much the only report I have for now. I am opening up the public, but well, many of us would like, no, just a moment, I can open it to the public. And then some of us need to head down to New Vida because they're having a big event for the thing, so we'll try to wind this up. Anybody from the public like to say anything?
Yeah, I think we should wind up so we can go to the other meeting.
Okay, great. Bert. Noted.
I heard that we don't have a contract with Whiteface Mountain to provide ambulance services.
Well,
We're doing that on our tax dollar?
No. We don't have a contract signed yet, but we're working off last year.
Fine, because I found last year's, I don't know anything about it. So.
With the change of structure up there, we haven't had one signed yet.
Okay, well, who can I talk to about it? I don't know.
Aaron Kelly.
Who's that?
Aaron Kelly.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bert. Any other? Okay, Tim, what would you like to say, Melissa?
I'd like the board to make a resolution thanking Roy Hoser for his many years of service to the town, which we didn't do at the last meeting, and I think would be appropriate.
Well, can we wait for one more person?
Oh, she's going to oppose it.
Well, there's this cool thing that I learned at the county called the unanimous.
I'll vote for it.
It's called the unanimous second. And so we don't need to actually vote. What we'll do is we'll make a motion and then we'll say, can I have a second? If we all say yes, second, it's a unanimous second, and it's the best kind of resolution to have.
How do you propose to get volunteers for that planning?
Good question, Tony. So we got a resolution. We want to make a resolution to thank Roy Holzer for his years of service and for stepping in when Randy passed away and he had to be substituted in. So Tim has made a resolution that we thank him as a town board, and I'd like to do that, and we'll write it in such a way that those resolutions are often written. And I'd like to ask for a unanimous second. Second? It's unanimous. Tony, I don't know.
Well, I mean, so we had Pat, we had
Yeah, we're getting.
Bowman, we had people that last time.
Yeah.
Round.
We have 3 others in this room.
With that, so that's all up to you guys, who
Yeah,
you're looking at, what you're doing, but how do you promote that to get more volunteers to expand those boards?
I'll be chatting it up at the New Vita
Okay.
if I see any locals there.
Yep.
I'll put my Facebook, I'm pleased that I got 160 something or others the other day. I've never done that. And so I'll try my best to get the word out. So thank you so much, adjourned.
Tony, I've had 3 other people reach out.
Yes.
I've had 3 other people reach out and express interest.